And we're on to some World of Warcraft news. Like I said earlier, BlizzCon happened, which is our big thing. They announced Mists of... what is it? Pandaria. It's just weird. The Pandaren race is actually non-canonical in lore. It was added as a April Fool's joke, and now they've just gone and ran with it. Because why not? This is Blizzard. If they can bring that... I think it's probably burgeoning on 2 million people who've left them since Cataclysm came out, and get them back into the game, they'll do it. They'll do it by whatever means necessary. And this one actually proves to be, from my thoughts, very much proof of that. Mists of Pandaria is mainly PvP focused. Horde versus Alliance conflict. The Pandarans are actually a neutral race, but guess what? You'll have to decide which one you want to support at level 10. Which means within the first 30 minutes of play, you'll get to decide which one you want to play. Yeah. We'll get back into that. They're... Really? This article says, how they're revamping the instance content. I've looked at this, and entirely... And I'm gonna tell you right now, it really isn't going to... I've been in some dungeons in WoW. I've played WoW for a little bit. I think my highest character got to level 35. And to be honest, the dungeons were bland. They were very much generic fantasy, straightforward. And from what I've read and from what I've heard, this doesn't seem that much different. Their challenge dungeons and their PvE scenarios. I would call the PvE scenarios basically what they are. They're basically just a dungeon with grind. Because that's what it seems like they were going to be. And challenge dungeons are just going to be a higher difficulty dungeon. Which they should have had from the beginning, because you have 2 levels of difficulty in dungeons, and they should have had more. And by now, they really should have. I mean, considering how much the community demands huge nerfs on a lot of these bosses, they really should have multiple, more than just 2 difficulties, because otherwise you're going to end up with what they've ended up, and just bosses people just roll over because, hey, the lowest part of your community has said, we want it weaker, and you have to pander to them because their $15 is worth the same amount as the people who want it harder. $15 a month is $15 a month. And trying to placate everybody is not a way to run a video game company. Let's get some more into this. Like I said, they're neutral race, but you have to choose between one or the other. The level cap has been upped to 90, which means another 5-level expansion. Whoopie freaking do. World of Warcraft had a level cap of 60. The Burning Crusade upped it to 70. The Wrath of the Lich King upped it to 80, which was 10 level gaps, which is appropriate, I think. And then suddenly with Cataclysm, they decided 5 levels is all you're going to get. You can't get that much content in 5 levels, people. Blizzard, get this through your minds. You really can't do that much in 5 levels. Unless you have that much of an experience disparity between levels 80, 81, and 81. This is not how you do an expansion to a game properly. And then, what they did with Cataclysm was really unfortunate, because really, what they should be doing is providing... Let me put it this way, what they did with Cataclysm. With Cataclysm, they redid levels 1 to 60 area. Okay? Cool. You know what that means? That means the original world, if you purchased the original World of Warcraft, as I did when Cataclysm came out, you're not getting any of that content in that game. In fact, it patches itself right through to Cataclysm, because it's got to have the 1 to 60 content. Meaning there's no real reason it shouldn't be free 1 to 60. At least the original 1 to 60. Okay? Because it patches itself right through to Cataclysm. Make 1 to 60 free, and then you can offer your other expansions. That will bring more people in. That'll keep people thinking. Because 1 to 60 is actually quite a distance in WoW. Okay, I said I only got to level 35, and I played that for about 2 months. Okay, I'm not a fast leveler. I'm an ultaholic, I admit it, openly. But the experience was not anything big for me, and because I'd have to pay $15 a month to keep it going, it wasn't worth it for me. On top of that, I made a $120 investment, and I didn't get to see where, let me think, almost $80 of that $120 went. I mean, that's what the initial all expansions included will cost you. Now it'll cost you almost $200 with Mist of Pandaria. There's nothing left of the original WoW. Okay? Include it all in TBC. Okay? Which is basically what they've done, because you can't really buy the original World of Warcraft apart from the Burning Crusade unless you go online to do it, in which case you're completely and utterly stupid and wasting a ton of money. It just doesn't... What they did with Cataclysm was nice, because the 1 to 60 flows better than what it probably did before. I wouldn't know, I've never played before. But at the same time, something just isn't right when you completely redo all the basic content and you make people still pay for access to the 1 to 60 content that they will never access. This is one of the problems I did with Cataclysm, and I'm not particularly happy about it. Sure, like I said, it goes very well. I enjoyed the earlier content, for the most part. The 2 new races they did in Cataclysm, the Worgen and the Goblins, were the best were some of the best MMO I've played in a long time. However, the others just weren't quite as good. The other races were not quite as good because they were basically redone, but not in the same way that the new races were. There was less of a story push to it. And once you get out of the, say, level 10, it got boring, even for the Worgen and the Goblin. So, because WoW was running on a very old game engine, and they're starting to slowly expose the tears in this game engine. Okay, the game was not designed for flying mounts. They've added it and they've patched the game engine to make it functional. Fun? Maybe. But here's the thing. It also was not designed for vehicular combat, which they've patched in Cataclysm, and I think a little bit before that, maybe in Wrath. I don't know, I never made it to that content. And it's really starting to show that the game engine is dated. I mean, you look at the game models. Now, admittingly, they updated some of the game models for Cataclysm. But you look at the difference between a Worgen and a human, or an orc. The quality of the model is definitely much better on the Worgen than it is the human or the orc. Because technology has moved forward, and the game engine itself cannot handle being updated quite like that. Now, some of the things about the Pandarians.
Go ahead, please. Let's do business.
And this is probably really going to show through on their game engine. Is there is no auto attack with the Pandarians. They are attempting to create what's been called an action MMO, which is push button, receive action MMO. This is quite different than playing an arcane mage with 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, which are your hotkeys. This is more Dungeons and Dragons style, click button, swing sword, click button, block. Except these are monks. They don't normally use swords or shields. They use hands and feet. So this is really going to show through. The holes of their engine are going to start showing through, unless they're doing some type of engine update, which they haven't really done. So this is their attempt to create an action MMO within WoW and try to save WoW, keep it moving forward. Because action MMOs are becoming bigger and more popular. I mean, we've just heard something about Terra Online. If you haven't, that's an extremely quality action MMO you should look for when it comes out. It's got, as you'd expect, you do have some hotkeys for some actions, but your normal attacks, you initiate, you swing, you block. It's much more flowing and much more involved, very much like DDO, which is Dungeons and Dragons Online. And so they're trying to keep competitive here, and they're trying to keep up with what the flow of MMOs are. However, I am not entirely sure that this is going to work well. Okay, this could be one of the things that brings me back to WoW, if only for a month. However, considering their netcode and the problems people have had with the lag already, considering it's purely a hotkey MMO, I don't see how this will help. The other question I have is, how does the monk fit into the Holy Trinity? Which, if you don't know, the Holy Trinity is tank, healer, DPS. I don't know how it fits in. Does it have a role of capability of being all three, depending on your spec? Or where does it fit? You know? Is it... This is going to be something I don't know, because they haven't said much yet. How does it fit into the Holy Trinity? Okay, can we expect... What can we expect them to be able to do? You know, what are these pandas capable of? What are these monks capable of? How does it fit? How will the netcode handle it? How will the game engine handle all this? I don't know. I want to know. Okay? I did not go to BlizzCon, and the article says nothing about how this will fit into the traditional raiding scene that World of Warcraft is known for. What I'm hoping for, and this is what I'm hoping for, is that they'll keep up with the promises they make with this expansion. They did not with Cataclysm. There were a whole bunch of dungeons that were announced that they were going to be in patches, and they didn't. They stopped the development on them. When the patches came out, hey, guess what? There's no dungeons for you. There's a 7-boss raid, and that's it. That was 4.2. I believe that was 4.2. And they've done the same thing before, and they keep doing it. They announce a whole bunch of stuff, especially announcements for... They do it at the beginning of expansions. They announce a whole big thing that they want to do with the expansion, something big, something awesome, something epic, and they never deliver it. They did this with Wrath of the Lich King. They did it with Cataclysm. They're probably going to end up doing it with Mists of Pandaria. I don't want them to do this. This is why I don't play WoW. They don't know what they're doing anymore. They can't keep You can't keep promising things and not delivering and expect people to keep paying you $15 a month to sit on your butts and develop a halfway mediocre content and not deliver on your promises. This is not how you work a video game company. This is wrong. And this is why I do not support Blizzard and why I will not be getting Mists of Pandaria. Yes, the Monk could be a very fun class to play, especially for me who likes the whole concept of an action MMO with my direct input and direct control over the character attacking. But the way they've been handling things, I don't care for it. Yes, you will end up paying about $180 if you want to buy all the expansions right out the door, and you only get 1 month. 1 month of $15 free with that. Personally, I think for each expansion, you should get 1 month. You know, for your World of Warcraft, hey, there's your 1 month. Burning Crusade, hey, there's another month. Wrath, another one. Cataclysm, another one. Mists, another one. I mean, that would be 5 months. That would make it worth your while. That would make it worth a lot of our whiles. But they're not going to, because there are several million people yet who are willing to shell $15 a month and support the company in not producing all the content they promised you your $15 for. This is not how you run a company, Blizzard. This is not how you run a company. And this is why you've been losing people in World of Warcraft. It's not just the normal downswing. You've started not delivering on your promises, and the community is starting to notice that you're not delivering. And when your community starts to realize that, you start to have problems. Now, admittingly, you're making massive millions of dollars every month. That's more than enough to keep all your servers online, and probably to fund the entire development of Activision. But is it ethically right for you to do it? Not deliver on your promises. Not tell why you're not delivering on your promises. Because I haven't heard one reason why they've scrapped 5-man dungeons and 5 and 10-man dungeons after every major patch update. They don't say. They just expect us to accept it and say, oh, okay, goodbye Activision, have fun. No, that's not how things are done. It's not how things should be done. And that's wrong of them to do. There's times to stand up and say, this is wrong. Morally, it is ethically, it is wrong. And it is wrong for them to do that. If you promise something, Activision, you deliver, or you say, why not?
See anything?
Otherwise, you have no credibility anymore.
For the right price.
And there's plenty of other MMOs out there that keep the very same fantasy feel of World of Warcraft and are free. This is why I haven't been able to really play WoW. It just didn't have enough atmosphere, it didn't have enough draw to keep me in. Because I've played so many other free MMOs before WoW that were so similar, it was like, I can get this very same experience for free. Why would I pay a monthly subscription fee for it? Now, admittingly, I pay $15 a month for Lord of the Rings Online. Why? Because that game has an atmosphere that sets it apart from everything else I've played. If a game does that, it deserves my support. Dungeons & Dragons Online has done that. Admittingly, I cannot afford to support 2 games, but it's Turbine, the major company that supports both those MMOs I'm supporting. It makes no sense for me to play something that I don't enjoy, much less to pay for something I don't enjoy.
It's been a...
Go ahead. I offer the finest goods and lowest prices in all Cyrodiil. What?